Hey y'all, welcome to Beats Motel. We have some vacancies, so please check in, sit back, and enjoy the review. So we're going to be talking today about Craig Johnson's first Longmire novel, Cold Dish. If you can't tell, there's no editing in these videos. We just kind of go with the flow. So kind of some background on this. Me and my wife and my family, we took a cruise out of country, went down to the Caribbean. I'm not a big socializer, not a big drinker, so I kind of just stayed in my room and read. I read the first 4 books in this series within that week-long cruise, which sounds like a lot to some people, but these books do flow by very, very quickly. I did read it on my Kindle. I love this thing, but that's neither here nor there. So kind of some background on this. So in the first chapter, you're introduced to Walt, who you can kind of tell there's some stuff going on. He is a morally gray character. As the book goes on and these other books go on, you find out more and more about him. I will say that I did love this book. I really did. It kind of gives me the atmosphere of Yellowstone. If you haven't seen it, it's a great show. Love it, recommend it. Probably not for some younger viewers. But what I mean by that is in the series as you go along, or in the first book, really, you see that, Walt has been in this town for years. He's been, he knows everybody, knows all the secrets. He even finds out secrets in some later books, but that's for some later reviews. But as you go on this book, what's happened is Walt gets a call. They found a person that has been shot. Not trying to sum it up, he's trying to figure out who it was. In the description, you find out that there was a case that Walt had a few years ago about something that tragically happened to a Indian girl, and this stuff, and they're trying to see, is this related to that case? Is it not? So again, you do find out some backstory on this town. Another thing, I love the setting of this story. I love this town. Every time I read it, I feel like I'm there. While it does feel like Yellowstone as far as Walt kind of knowing everybody, and you just get this intense feeling. It's the weird. What I mean by that is my wife loves Hallmark movies, and every time I read this book, I can't help but picture kind of like a Hallmark type of town, small little town. Everybody knows each other. Obviously, this takes place in Wyoming, which is amazing. I love that setting. Being here in Texas, I understand the ranching and all that, which isn't a big thing up there from what I understand, but it is at the same time depending on where you're at. But again, I love this book. I couldn't recommend it enough. As you, again, deep dive into this, you meet some characters. You meet Vic, which is a loudmouth deputy. He's kind of like Teeter from Yellowstone. Then you meet Henry Standing Bear, and holy crap, he is probably, aside from Walt and one other person, he's probably my favorite person in this series so far. Probably is my favorite person, to be honest with you. He doesn't say a whole lot, but when he does, you get what he's saying. He's a man of few words, and that impact, again, it's that saying, those who talk more are less to be heard, whereas those who speak fewer words are more likely to be heard more. That is Henry rolled up into one. He doesn't say a whole lot, but when he does, holy crap, does it make an impact. You kind of find out a little bit about, the Indian reservations and how life kind of is. They delve into a character who, has some drinking problems. And unfortunately, that's just a reality on the reservations. I'm not getting political or into any all that, but the way that Craig Johnson writes this, you can tell that he's been around this. He knows what he's talking about. He's based his, Henry off of his best friend, who I forget his name. I'm drawing a blank, but again, this is a great book. It really is. I was a little iffy starting it because you're just kind of thrown in there. You're made, I feel like, immediately to feel bad for him, but you don't know why. And the more you find out, the more you kind of feel bad for him. Walt has lost his wife. He hasn't really, he's moved on to a certain degree, but he doesn't realize that he's not. He thinks he has. He's living in a rundown cabin. Read the book. You'll see what I mean. There's a scene in there where Henry comes over to to celebrate a game or the Super Bowl or watch a game between the Broncos and the Chiefs, which when, Craig Johnson wrote this novel, I don't think he expected the Chiefs to be as big in pop culture as they are now. I mean, obviously right now you have Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, and I not delving into that, but it made me chuckle when I heard this, when I read that part. But there's a part in there where Henry's talking about a pan or a pot or something, and Walt says that's not what you think it is, and he's insinuating that there's literal mouse crap in the pot. But anyways, there's some moments in here that just make me chuckle. This is it's not a buddy cop book, but you can definitely tell this is one of those towns where stuff has happened. They run things a certain way. Outsiders are welcome to a certain degree. Again, I'm just going to ramble on, but this is just a great book. This is a great first starter. As you moved on to the series, I'm on about book 8 right now, and I started the series in September. I keep falling in love with this series more and more. And I know there's a TV show out there that's kind of where I've seen an episode or two, and I'm holding off on watching the whole show because I want to finish these and catch up with these books. I believe Craig Johnson just came out with number 19 or 20. I know he just announced we're getting another book next year, which I cannot wait for. I'm hoping to be caught up by then. Again, this is a great series. If you are someone who likes the Old West but wants a modern feel to it, you like Louis L'Amour books that are kind of quick paced, they're shorter, this is going to be up your alley, because while Walt he does have his issues, he's not necessarily morally gray. He does, battle stuff in this series as stuff goes on. You find out again more and more about this town and the history of it, and just some more stuff as this goes along. Again, I can't highly recommend it enough. I'm gonna keep pulling up my Kindle. I cannot highly recommend this book enough. I highly suggest you pick it up. This is what we call, my man Mike at Mike's Book Reviews would call a great palate cleanser, kind of like Dresden Files, as far as it's kind of quick. You find out about this guy. I've only read the first couple Dresden Files books, but it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Again, great book, highly recommend it. If you're kind of on the fence, or if you find it, really cheap, I know you can go on Amazon, it's like $90 for the first 12. I would highly recommend it. Books on average, I think on my Kindle say about 6-7 hours to read, and the time flies by. You could easily, if I had enough time a day to sit down and read 2 of these, I honestly would. That's how great these books are. I highly recommend you pick it up. The next video will be me reviewing the following book. Like I said, Cold Dish, though, great book. It's just great. I'm gonna leave it there, otherwise I'm gonna spoil stuff. I highly recommend you pick it up. I definitely give it a 4.5, if not 5 stars. Definitely pick it up. Again, this is the Beats Motel. Thank you for checking in, and again, check out The Cold Dish by Craig Johnson.